Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. Elephant in the car. What? Is that what I'm calling myself? No, but elephant in the room. I am back in the car. Is it 2018 rumour mill? No, it's not. I'm just back in here because I didn't want to sort of edit anything. I didn't want to do anything like that. I genuinely just wanted to have a real chat with you. And this is like a full-time with Connor thing. So make sure you stick with me to the very end. We're going to be speaking about bits and bats. We're going to be speaking about Blackburn. We're going to be speaking about the whole table right now and where Leeds find themselves in terms of mentality, in terms of projection, in terms of form. So stick with me through this. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and obviously getting your thoughts in the section below. So, Friday night, Sunderland versus Sheffield United. I have to say, got a bit of flack, naturally, from Sheffield United fans in the comment section below. Understandably as well. I said that Leeds United were better, all ends up, than Sheffield United and Sunderland. And genuinely, guys, when we are at our pomp and we're at our full tilt, I believe we are. And I think they were at the mercy of that when we just battered them at Ellen Road. I think Coventry were at the mercy of that when we battered them at Ellen Road. And I think Luton were at the mercy of that when we battered them at Ellen Road. Now, there's a certain theme that's correlating there, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But overall, what's more important? Is it the fact that you've beaten Sheffield United? Is it the fact you've beaten Ipswich, Leicester last season, twice? Or is it being consistent across the season? What I'm seeing with Burnley in the last sort of, I think, 6 games where they've kept 6 clean sheets. What I'm noticing with Sheffield United right now, apart from the odd loss, which is the odd loss, is consistency. And I think that's the theme right now, because consistency breeds confidence, momentum, and ultimately success. It doesn't matter if Sheffield United have lost the game to Leeds. Yes, I will stick by what I said. I still think Leeds are better than both Sunderland and Sheffield United. But it doesn't matter, because what Sheffield United have done is they've gone to Blackburn. They've gone to Bristol City. Burnley have gone to Bristol City very recently. And they've won, away games of which they seem to be getting it right on the road. Unfortunately, right now, I'm speaking to a couple of mates who were there the other day, there is a section of the fan base who are getting a little bit frustrated with this now, because we kind of see this performance very regularly now. And it's been very recent as well, Millwall, Bristol City, Blackburn, to name a few. I mean, if you just line those away games up and you think Leeds have got 1 point out of 9 in those 3 away games, you'd think nah. Because at that beginning point when we looked at our fixtures and it got a little bit easier as opposed to Norwich and Sunderland and Sheffield United, we looked at those away games and we thought Bristol City, Millwall, Blackburn, etc., Luton, and you'd have got Leeds fans online saying 13 points in 15, 15 points in 15, etc. But to get those, to accumulate those points, you have to have a good away form. You have to be good away from home. And Joe Rodon came out after the game the other day and essentially said that, we set up the way we do and teams are effective against us by just parking the bus and we have to break them down. That is true, Joe, to a certain extent, but we need a few other nuances than that, mate. We need a few little more insights than that. What's the plan when this happens? And obviously he's not going to give that away, full front and centre, but it would have been nice for him to refer to, but we can do this. We've got this artillery on the bench. The manager has asked us to do this, which isn't going to be cryptic and is going to let other teams in on an insight. But it just feels like this, even from what Rodon was saying post-match, the mentality is we'll play the way we're playing. And teams are sat like they're sat away from home and we'll just try and get through and we'll keep going. But Leeds could have played another 97 minutes yesterday and we wouldn't have scored. And it was very similar at Millwall, wasn't it? We played another 94 minutes there. We wouldn't have scored. Bristol City, another 92 minutes. We wouldn't have scored. So I feel like there has to be some sort of like effective strategy when these sorts of games are happening. Now, I thought on Friday night, for example, when we're just looking at this full-time video, Sheffield United had the more quality in the last 30 minutes. I thought Sunderland were the better team. But Sheffield United had the more quality and they won the game. And this is the thing, they're winning games of football and they're doing it consistently. Now, Leeds, we're just off the back of 3 wins, but I do wonder, and I'm going to pose this question to you, especially when it comes to the Swansea game, and I just want to focus on the Swansea game, because the home form, For 9 on 2 seasons now, it's probably been effectively one of the best home forms in the country, probably in Europe when it comes down to it. You know, Leeds have been ridiculous at home, and everybody knows that, people. Everybody knows that. Luton fans will have known that. Sheffield United fans will have known that. Sunderland fans will know that. Burnley would have known that. I remember the rhetoric back then. It was, this is the toughest place in the league to come. So we've fostered that reputation by getting win after win after win after win at home. And there's almost an arrogance and expectancy, a predictability to Leeds that we will win at home. That isn't the problem. What you're naturally doing is by faltering away from home as consistently as we are doing right now, and by sort of the natural rhetoric being, it will be fine, which I cannot stand that argument, because there's no critical thought there. There has to be critical thought when it comes to this. What's going on? Why is it going on away from home? Is it a mentality issue? Is it this low block? There has to be more critical thought than it'll be all right, Farke will sort it out, because we're seeing patterns here. We saw patterns last season away from home as well. But you actually look just exclusively at those 3 games away from home, when it was Swansea, Millwall and Bristol City. We didn't concede a goal, and we scored, but was it 8 or 9 goals in those games accumulatively? So I think the overarching point is the fact that these 2 other teams, when you look at Burnley and Sheffield United specifically, Burnley went away to Stoke yesterday and beat them 2-0. Right now, can you see us doing that? I can't. And this is my worry right now with Leeds United. I mentioned yesterday on the Instant Match reaction, which I genuinely encourage you all to go and have a watch. It was very good, if I do say so myself. My dad asked me, would you make a change? Because we're making these, ultimately, we're making these complaints about Daniel Farke, and would you make a change? And I wouldn't, because ultimately, I think he's got enough when it comes to the squad to, even if he's got deficiencies as a manager, for the squad, because of how good it is, to overcompensate for that. And should I be saying that? It's ridiculous, isn't it? Because the manager should be getting enough out of this. Because football does continue away from home as well. It just doesn't stop at home. And with these staggering performances, I come back to what I said at the start of the video. Luton at home, Coventry at home, Sheffield United at home. What is the common denominator? It's all at home. It's all at home. We've not really seen anything away from home. We've beaten a Sheffield Wednesday side who were in form at that moment. Of course, they were decent, but when you put 11 versus 11 on the pitch, Sheffield Wednesday have one of the worst sides in the division. They are abhorrently bad. And somehow they're not in the relegation zone. And I think that is because of Danny Roll, to be fair. You look at that squad, it's awful. And it was awful when they came up against Leeds United. It's a League One side. Cardiff City, who were in disarray at that moment in time, we've beaten away from home 2-0, of course. And Swansea, and there are 3 away wins this season, people. And let's be brutally honest with this. It was a win against Swansea, but it could have gone either way. And that's why I wanted to speak about it, because that is a Swansea side who didn't score goals, who don't score that many goals. Of course, they don't concede that many goals as well, but when Leeds come to town and we've got the quality that we have, you would expect us to score goals like that on a regular occurrence against a Swansea side who were 14th in the table at that moment. And we seem to be struggling with properly defending. And it's really basic like that, but defending as a unit away from home. You look at the element of control that Leeds United have at home, and everything's sewn off when it comes to defending, when it comes to midfield dominance, when it comes to the chances that we're creating. Away from home, I think we look completely open at points. I think it's very easy to get behind our fullbacks. And ultimately, I actually think when you look at the midfield, of which we've praised a hell of a lot, naturally, there's not that orchestrating away from home. And what I mean by that is, everybody, we've got possession of the ball, but orchestrating chances, pathways, it seems very, very erratic. It seems a lack of composure and a lack of authority away from home. And I think 3 wins in 11, and those are the 3 wins. I had a quick look at the form table at home as well when it comes to Swansea. I think Swansea was 16th. Sheffield Wednesday at home were 18th, and Cardiff were 19th. So that's what we're beating away from home, and we've faltered. We really have faltered, and that needs to be changed very quickly, because we won't get promoted. Nowhere. If you have this form again, I don't think you'll get promoted, because I think what you're getting right now, and this is where it all circles back to the full time with Connor, talking about the other clubs as well. I think Burnley are going to win the majority of their away games. I think Sheffield United are going to win the majority of their away games. And when you look at the overall pie right now, the overall picture, Leeds, this season haven't won the majority of their away games. We're winning a lot of games at home, but you cannot be reliant on that for the full season, people. It will not average out, and it's going to take your points per game down, which it did yesterday, again, of which we seem to get to a certain point. We seem to get to 2 points per game, and it gets reduced again by our away form, as it did at Millwall, Bristol City, Norwich, etc. But every single game that we've played this season away from home, we've been better than that team, in my opinion, in terms of calibre. You look at the game at the beginning of the season, the 0-0 draw against West Brom, which I thought was such... I know we'd just been beaten by Middlesbrough, but I thought it was such a negative performance because they didn't show anything, West Brom. We should have gone and won that game, and we didn't. We were conservative. Fine, whatever. Daniel Farke was under a bit of pressure there. And then, obviously, you've got the Norwich game, you know, of which you take Nonto and Ramazani off at such a critical period where we're on top. And then we start faltering back, and then Norwich are like, they're the only team to win the game. They're the only team that's going to win the game, I should say. Sunderland, you don't win the game because of Melee, of course, but you're still not winning the game. We're not winning the game in regular time. There was another 89, 90 minutes to win that game. We didn't win the game. We didn't score enough goals to win that game. You know, you look at Bristol City, which was an awful performance. We didn't do anything in that game. Millwall, Blackburn, there was a current thing. These aren't spectacular teams, people. These really aren't spectacular teams. Out of those teams that I've mentioned, you're probably getting West Brom and Sunderland in the top 6, if we're being honest. So we've still got these grungy, horrible games coming up. Stoke, away. Coventry, away. Awful. Middlesbrough, away. Derby, away. Rank games in this division, of which follow a very similar blueprint to your Blackburns and your Millwalls. But what I will say about Blackburn yesterday is it wasn't just about them sitting back. It was they transitioned well with Tyrese Dolan. I thought he was excellent yesterday, and Todd Campbell. They went man for man with us regularly in that first half. They were pressing us high. They were winning all the second balls, so many of the duels, and Leeds just couldn't compete with it. And I thought a lot of it yesterday was Blackburn wanted it more. Blackburn wanted it more. That's a worry. Because I do look at the manager there, and obviously the players, but I look at the manager in terms of enacting change at certain points. We could all see it yesterday. Half-time changes needed to happen. We predicted how that second half would go. Leeds weren't going to score in the first 15 minutes. It was going to follow the same repetition for that 15 minutes. Farke would make subs at 70 minutes, and then Blackburn would start going down, falling over, taking time with goal kicks, and Leeds would be frustrated. We predicted all that at half-time, so we said, look, make changes now. It was a perfect game for 2 up top. Perfect game for 2 up top. It wasn't the game for Brendan Harrison. It was a physical game, and he's out of form. Out of form. 5 or 6 games now. Completely out of form, in my opinion. Enact change quicker. Be proactive. He's got to start changing his ethos away from home. He's got to start changing things up. Bamford coming on ahead of Joseph was completely bizarre. Ramazani not coming on for longer. Nonto, have to look at him. Not good enough yesterday. You know, he won us the game against Swansea, so you give him that kind of leeway because he was a match winner in that game. But that's when we kind of revert back to Brendan Harrison, who I think's had more minutes than everybody outside that back 2 and Melee, I think. We've got to start seeing more from him on a regular occurrence, because it's all well and good talking about his season so far. That's great. But what about his form? Because his form indicates what he's doing right now. So, overall, it's not a good day. It's not a good weekend for us, everybody. It really isn't. Leeds, unfortunately, have succumbed to the old Leeds thing, the old Leeds adage this season, which is just struggling away from home, struggling to assert dominance away from home, but being able to do it at home. And it's a real worry and needs to be sorted out pronto, because the teams in and around us are asserting dominance away from home. They're getting clean sheets away from home. They're beating teams away from home, of which we can't beat away from home. Why is that? Why, when we have a better quality squad, why when I'm coming on here saying that we're a better team because we've played them and outplayed them, are we now not able to do that against lesser teams? Because we said this last season, it was more the bottom sides, bottom 3, bottom 4, bottom 5, that we all got frustrated with, your Birminghams, your Rotherhams, etc., that we were dropping points. But we're still dropping points to sides that are 10 points, 12 points below us. It's not good enough. It has to be sorted out, and it's not about the quality of player. For me, it's about managerial proactiveness, and it's about getting those players up for it as well. But Burnley and Sheffield United win this weekend. Shout out to you lot, you guys who'll probably be watching this. Shout out to you lot. They win the weekend. They're in the top 2. Leeds are back in 3rd again, of which I think we've spent about 4 days in the top 2. That's not good, by the way. And yeah, we just seem to fleetingly see this really good Leeds performance, but unfortunately we're not seeing it enough, especially away from home. Problem, because Leeds have to get up this season, and at some point we have to take advantage of this. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Really interested to hear what all of the fan bases say on this video as well. Am I deluded? Am I wrong? Am I right? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit.